Hi everybody. I want to thank you for watching. I'm going to be doing a few of these videos because the Eastern Townships interest me. It's my home. For sure the police things interest me. I've always been a watcher of true crime, 48 Hours, Forensic Files. Now that I've been thrust into it as a concerned person, I've really delved into a lot of things. When I was a child, there was a lot of things that were going on in the 70s and 80s here in the townships, and it was like make believe. We'd heard a little bit about it through the. Are they here? We'd heard a little bit about it through the Allo Police magazine journal that used to come out every week, and it was fascinating, but we all thought it was make believe. So I'm going to start this just a little bit, not lightheartedly, but the future videos are going to be about missing women. Murdered women and unsolved cases that happened in the 70s and 80s, basically southern Quebec, so say Montreal, Drummondville, Townships area. But for today, I'm going to talk to you about a case that happened in 1983 in December in Sherbrooke, Quebec and Rock Forest, Quebec. So on December 22nd, at around 4:15 p.m. at the Carrefour de l'Estrie in Sherbrooke, Quebec, a security guard for the Brinks service, where they go pick up the cash, was shot and killed by two robbers. So at 4:15 there was a successful robbery at the Pascal hardware store, where one bank robber shot Yvan Charland, who was 33 years old, or excuse me, he was 37 years old, husband, father of two, was shot and killed when he refused to give up the bags of money. The robbers were able to get away with his partner's gun and with a little over $53,000 of what they had stolen. There were quite a few witnesses at the shopping center, so they were able to get a description of the two individuals, also the car that they were driving. And so there was an all points bulletin that was set out for the town of Sherbrooke and the surrounding area to be on the lookout for these two guys in a certain type of vehicle. On December 23rd at around 7 a.m., there were two suspects that were apprehended at the Motel Chantillon in Rock Forest. The police intervention entailed a André Castonguay, police officer from Sherbrooke, Roger Dion, police officer from Sherbrooke, and their captain, Michel Savaille, who was in charge of this operation. Those are going to be the three main characters. So a little after 7 a.m., shots rang out in Rock Forest. It was actually what they called the Shootout of Rock Forest. The accounts, I'm going to give you three different versions. So the proprietor said that a little before 7 o'clock, the police officers arrived at his hotel, wanted to see the registry, said that there was a vehicle in the parking lot. They wanted to check the people who had registered. The names didn't match with the license plate, and they believed that they were the two suspects of this Brinks robbery that happened the day before. So the proprietor gave them the key to the room, and they proceeded to go to the room. And a few minutes later, the proprietor heard several shots, like from a machine gun. And I will now go to the suspect's version, because there was one suspect, Serge Baudouin, who was 33 years old, was shot and killed. And Jean-Paul Beaumont, who was 32 years old, was shot, and he survived. It wasn't until when that suspect was being questioned at the hospital that the police realized that they had gotten the wrong men. The police's version, because they had talked about, apprehending these individuals because, they had done a good thing, they believed, even though after they had searched the hotel room, they couldn't find the guns or the money. But they still believed that they had the right individuals. And when they started questioning Jean-Paul Beaumont, the survivor, they quickly realized that they had gotten the wrong men. Their version was that they had knocked on the door, they had opened the door, and that Roger Dion had walked into the room. André Castonguay said that he heard something which he believed was his partner being attacked. So he opened fire through the door and shot his mini machine gun 20 times within 5 seconds. 8 of those shots hit Serge Baudouin. He died due to his injuries a little later throughout that day. His friend, Jean-Paul Beaumont, who was sleeping, they were sleeping when this happened, was shot in the face. So that's the police's version. That's about all we were able to get at this point because, once they realize they've done something bad, everything gets zipped right up. So Jean-Paul Beaumont was interviewed by La Tribune, a journalist, from his hospital bed on that very next day, so December 24th. And he said that they'd finished work at about 5 a.m. They were carpet layers. They were from Ancienne Lorette. They worked that evening at the Bell Canada offices. So they worked at night laying carpet. They finished around 5, had some breakfast, and then went to their hotel room and went to bed. Jean-Paul Beaumont said he woke up to a tap, 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 which sounded like a machine gun. He rolled out of his bed. It's when he realized that he'd been shot in the face. He was thinking that he should call the police. And then he heard his friend Serge scream out, help me, help me. And Jean-Paul Beaumont was crawling towards the door because he could hear in the corridor, in the hallway, someone, noise and someone saying, open up or we're going to break down the door. So he opened the door and he saw the police there. They had him, go on his stomach. They handcuffed him. They realized they needed to call some ambulances. So ambulances were called. They did the search and they were sent to the hospital. And that's when the police came to interview them and realized that they had gotten the wrong people. So on Monday, the 26th of December, the Sûreté du Québec there was a lieutenant who put a couple of cops on the case. One of those police officers was Rod Godreau, which we're going to hear a lot about him. He was a Sûreté du Québec officer, which was involved in major crimes, and they were going to they were going to be in charge of the investigation and get to the bottom of it to see if there would be any criminal responsibility towards the police officers involved. So mainly André Castonguay and Roger Dion, and then their captain, Michel Savaille. So the Sûreté du Québec took over the investigation, and the police officers were suspended with pay until the outcome of the investigation and if any charges were to be brought against them for any responsibility, criminal responsibility. They were both acquitted in February of 1984. That would be André Castonguay and Roger Dion. And Michel Savaille was acquitted in February of 1985. So there were no charges laid against those police officers, even though two different accounts were presented as testimony. You had the one surviving witness, victim, and we had his account where he said that the police officers never opened the door. And then you had the police officer's account where, as they opened the door, Roger went inside, and I guess as the door was closing, André Castonguay believed that his partner was in danger and opened fire with his mini machine gun, which fired 20 rounds and killed Serge Beaudoin. So the reason I wanted to talk about this case is it's a lot of the things that I've been going through. I know the victim's brother, Serge Beaudoin's brother, tried to get through access of information. He tried to get the investigation, and he was able to get some things, but the version of the Sûreté du Québec in part of the investigation was not included, and he just didn't get access to it. I haven't seen anything currently regarding this case, except that in March of 2019, we had an interview on, I'm going to link the article that I read of André Castonguay about how it feels to live with shooting an innocent man. You know, this is the collateral damage that I'm talking about. I know he didn't mean to shoot him. It wasn't it wasn't murder, because, they don't go out to shoot people. But I think there is some responsibility. It's affected all his life. It's affected his relationships. He sticks to the facts. He sticks to his version that that's how it happened. I don't know how Roger didn't get shot. There's not much on his testimony. Roger Dion, his partner, that was inside the room, but that's how it is, I think. But not the biggest, because all of these stories, all of the collateral damage that I speak of, whether it's Serge Beaudoin's family who has to live with the half-truths, you have Jean-Paul Beaumont, who has to, live with that for the rest of his life. I'm sure his face is scarred. I haven't looked him up. I want to respect his privacy, but hey, if you're listening and you want to chat, I'd love to chat with you. And then you have all the police officers involved. I'm sure it affected them and their relationships in some ways. And also, what about Yvan Chalin, that poor security guard who was killed? And with the police focusing on the suspects and believing that it was those suspects, those two robbers got away, a murderer got away. In that article that I was talking about, André Castonguay says something to the effect that they were apprehended in Connecticut doing other robberies. I wasn't able to find anything on that, so I don't know if it's true, but that's just what I wanted to talk about, is that, these things have been happening for a long time. It's not, I'm not here to put blame, but it's about responsibility and accountability. Most professions, you have that accountability, whether you're a doctor or a nurse, you're a paramedic, you're a psychologist, a lawyer. Most professions, there's accountability for your actions or your inactions. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. So thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. If you want to subscribe, you can see the next videos that I come up. Like the video whatever. This is just for fun, and again, it's out of complete respect. Stay tuned. I have a lot more stuff that I'm going to talk about, especially about the 70s, the 80s, the missing women, the unsolved cases, the police just um, inadequacy regarding these cases, and that continues to do so. But I want to focus on the 70s and 80s. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.